So we'll get going today. So I'm Jason Thiry. I'm the athletic director at Alaska. I'll tell you a little bit about my story today. And really, I've coached for 20 years, been in the coaching business 20 years. It's my first year as an athletic director. So still hot off the press and still got my feet still wet with coaching. Miss coaching a lot. Still find a way to get involved with my kids and whatnot. We'll talk about that through my story here today. But I'm certainly not here to tell anybody how to do things. I'm telling you what's worked for me. And a culmination of 20 years, it's picking and choosing and stealing and everything else from every possible coach that you possibly can to take one thing back to your program. That was always my rule when I went to clinics or to have my assistants go to clinics. I don't want the whole thing. If I want the whole thing, I'll buy the DVD, okay? I want one thing that we can take back to our program and apply to our kids, whether it's your position group or to the program. You got to decide, is it worth it for the program, or will this work just for my linebackers, or will this just work for my receivers? And when you do it long enough and you keep taking one thing, you keep going to clinics and getting better, things start working, okay? And so that's my only advice in clinicking is don't attempt to get the whole thing. You want the whole thing? Ask the presenter. They'll always give it. I'll give my stuff today if you want it as well, okay? And again, it's all stolen somewhere, okay? But I guess I prided myself in 20 years of surrounding myself, or at least attempting to, with great people, treating people the right way, and in return, good things happen, okay? And so, I guess that's why I'm standing where I am today. I have a great position in Alaska. It's a transition year for me, but it's been good so far. And so, I'm kind of going through some of those things. I'll talk about some things that I feel really passionate about that you've got to get under control in your programs that I had to, okay? And we'll talk about my story of how I got to where I am today, and then we'll kind of put it all together at the end. So, you got to take a nap after that lunch, I get it. It could be boring, that's fine, it won't hurt my feelings done. You got to stand up, go to the bathroom or whatnot, please do it, but we'll get into it. So, it's just what the presentation says, okay? There's nothing worse than being around coaches that want other people to do things for them, okay? And your head coaches are nodding right now. I can already tell who the head coaches are, okay? And the assistant coaches are kind of looking around. It's that whole Urban Meyer thing, right? You all seen that before where he talks about, assistant coaches are the first ones to bitch and complain, okay? Behind your back, but yet they don't want to put the work in. So which one is it, okay? And if any of you are sitting here wondering, what am I? Ask somebody that you trust. Okay, I can't express enough. You've got to be willing to have a hard conversation with everybody. Always. It's got to be a part of your program, okay? So which goes back to if you want success, I'm not talking about wins or losses, okay? Those are a byproduct. And I know that's a cliche thing, but we really didn't. Like, I have two of my former assistants sitting over here from Prairie. I didn't talk about wins or losses, okay? What I did talk about is doing things the right way. And if you do that, you got to build it. But as a coach and as this group of guys sitting in here, you can't expect other people to build it for you. Okay? I think that's the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons why head coaches fail. They're not ready to go build. And if you're not ready to get your toolbox out and get it dirty, you're in the wrong profession. Okay? Especially in the football. There's some sports I think you can get away with it. This one is not. Okay? And so, really, that's going to be the gist of what we're going to talk about today. So I appreciate you taking time to come in, and we'll get going. So, first thing I think is really important. First requirement is you have to get to that spot with your athletes. Okay? You have to get to be where Dean Smith is. No drama, no BS, right there. And it's got to be eye-to-eye contact. We've all coached the guys that don't want to look at us, right? And man, is it frustrating. What's it going to take to get to that point? Yelling usually doesn't work. It's never worked for me, right? It did when I was young, and I learned real fast. You want to turn kids off? Yell at them nonstop. And I get some of us are yellers in here, okay? But there's still a way to yell and still be right about it and do it the right way. But again, if Michael Jordan can listen to Dean Smith, you're telling me any of our athletes can't? The biggest thing I want you to think about is this. The athletes you have are not a deck of cards in high school football, fellas. You can't trade them in, okay? You get what you get. You got to play your deck. And how you go about playing it is all up to you and the time and amount of effort you put in, okay? And I know half of you here probably don't work in the building you coach in, I would guess. Maybe even more than that, right? That seems to be a thing where it's going away more and more. So it's hard to make those connections during the school day. If you are in the building, that's where you got to make it. You got to do it. You got to find lunch. You got to find the hallway. You got to find somewhere. But at the end of the day, If you can't get there with your best players, frankly, all of them, but your best ones especially, and that big moment comes and it's 3rd and 2, and you're not there, don't expect the result. You didn't build it. Okay? And I was listening to the Sauk Prairie Clay talk about things like that. You've got to put the time in. You can't show up and drive the Ferrari. It's not a rental car here. Okay? And we're not getting paid big money to do this thing. We all want to do it to provide kids a great opportunity, I hope. If that's really your goal, then get there with your athletes. Okay, next. Second, we all have to have tough skin. This is not like new here. Okay? But understand, in all of your communities, at least if you're the ones like the ones I was in, I've been in some great communities, I've met great people. People say, why'd you move all around? I chose to. Okay? I've met great people along my journey I'll tell you about here in a little bit. But the bottom line is, you better have tough skin. Okay? And not kind of tough skin, then we're right underneath the first layer, it goes away. People want to bury us. Right? I mean, we're in a tough position right now where we're attempting to get 50 to 100 players to all buy into the same thing, along with coaches, along with parents. There's going to be naysayers. And you better have tough skin, and you got to be willing to have that tough conversation. Okay? Next. Got to understand this. The only people going to criticize you are the ones doing less. Okay? I didn't know this when I was young. Okay? When I was about 30, I started to realize it. And then now I'm 41 and out of coaching for right now, and probably will be done coaching. I'll help here and there where it's needed, but the time of my life is right now, that is so true. And if you really think about that, the time and effort that everybody in this room puts in, who are the ones that are bitching at you at the end of the day? Okay? And it doesn't matter what level it is, but that's the bottom line. Okay? So, next up. These two phrases, if they're part of your culture or allowed to be said in your culture, they got to go. Okay? It's the whole Yoda thing with try. And I know some people in here Star Wars. I'm not even a Star Wars guy. But I can't begin to tell you how big of a culture change and shift in Prairie du Chien we had when that went away. I'll try to be there today, Coach. All right. Yeah, right. Okay. Try to get my homework done tomorrow. Yeah, right. All right. Yeah, I'll try really hard this next play. And they go like half-hard. Okay? It just doesn't work. And it can't just go away from your players. Your coaches have got to quit saying this. All right, guys, we're going to give this a try today in practice. We're going to get this great cover 3, and we're going to slant the tackles over, and we're going to give this a shot and a try. It's fake. Okay? I really do believe that. You've got to get it out. And when people say it, make them rephrase themselves. I'm going to do this. We're going to do this today. And that's not being demanding. That's being truthful. If you try at anything, you're not going to succeed. You might get lucky. That's great. But overall, it's got to go. That's one of the main things, at least in my stop in Prairie du Chien, that we got rid of. Period. Okay? And when you call people out for saying it, sometimes the guys would joke with it, or I would too, but you don't go up to a kid and say, I told you not to say try. It's not that. It's like, rephrase what you're saying, please. Okay? I go as a head coach, I go around my coaches who's doing this and practice. If they say it, I come over and the players and start calling the coaches out on it. That's when it becomes fun. Coach, you're not supposed to say that. Really? Oh, yeah, you're right. And so you move on, okay? And I can't, it goes along there. That one always happens in the off season, right? I can't make it tonight, I got basketball. Okay. Fair enough. But what are you going to do to make it up? Okay? I can't, the biggest one is on max day, right? We all have max days in the weight room. I can't do that. I know I can't get that 315, all right? It's just got to go. It just cannot be a part of your culture. Those two simple phrases make the world of difference. Next. In addition to that, some Urban Meyer stuff here, that's got to be gone. Those 3 letters are even worse. Okay, the BCD, the blame, complaining, and defending. Across program lines. All the way from the parent fireside chats, because we never get roasted at that, right? Okay? to your players blaming, to your coaches blaming the players. It's a horrible triangle if you don't get that fixed up. You cannot go BCD. Okay? That's another big area we worked on a lot with our culture in Prairie du Chien, and we got it right. All right? And it stopped. Okay? And so when it stops, and again, people start holding each other accountable, it becomes really fun and really cool. But again, you gotta build it. You gotta talk about this stuff daily. You gotta send huddle messages out, hashtag, they all love hashtags, right? BCD, hashtag no BCD, hashtag no try, etc., etc. Constant reminders year round. There's such a thing as too much and not enough, okay? We've all had coaches when they send huddle messages out, these like things that are 8 texts long, you're like, I can't follow this shit, okay? Just send them, simple, right there. We're having lip tonight, no BCD. Don't give me an excuse, don't blame your mom because she got mad at you and then you're gonna defend your actions of missing your lift. That's not acceptable, okay? Just a simple, right to the point. And that's what I found in 20 years. Gets through to kids a lot easier. Don't try. Boom, they know it. BCD, they know it. Above the line, they know it. Okay, next. This is another one that we've really, I feel passionate about. Okay, and some of you know me and here some of you don't. I don't do drama, period. Okay, I don't do well with it, I don't like it, but some people in this world, that's what they live off of. That's what they strive off of. I've had coaches that love drama. There's nothing better than having an assistant coach go to the Walmart aisle on Saturday and try and defend some call that I made. Okay? And it just stirs it. Okay? It's got to go. It's got to go. And when you get it out of your program, it's a beautiful thing. Am I saying you can get rid of it when you got 80 dudes fully? No. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying when 78 of them get rid of the drama, the other 2 usually get squashed. All right? And so I feel really passionate about that. Not having that, I've implemented that in Alaska's culture. We'll talk about it a little bit, but no drama, period. Next. Palms up's got to go. Okay, we've all been the palms up coach. Right? Bad call, we go palms up. Right? And so when that happens, that is a horrible look. If you got your quarterback that does that, please get it fixed. Okay? If you do that, get it fixed. I used to do that. Bad calls happen, my hands go in the pocket. You walk around. That looks a lot better than this. All that stuff going on. Alright? Really, quite frankly, not the quarterback, but they're the one that always gets watched. But if you're starting your season off next year and you got a quarterback that's palms up guy, you better find a new quarterback. Or don't expect good play. Because last time I checked, there's 11 guys trying to stop him. And he's going to get stopped at some point. He's got to get up and go. Okay? It can't be this. That's terrible body language, and it's something that's really, really hard to get. Basketball coaches love to do this. I've watched this year a lot, okay, including ours. And it's okay, just re-remind. That's all you have to do. But that piece of body language right there is so powerful if you can get that to stop. And then go watch film, and then what becomes really fun is when you call out other teams on film. Well, look at this guy after you made this big play. Palms up, coach. Yep. Okay. So don't go palms up, ever. All right? And catch yourself doing it, or catch your coaches doing it, because it happens a lot more than often. I'm doing it right now. I don't mean to, but it's just what it is. All right? Next. So I really feel passionate about getting those things, I guess, removed from your program. That's what has to happen. You got to make a decision, and everybody's culture in here is different. Everybody's at different stages. Okay, we got programs in here struggling and getting ready to go on the rise. We got programs that have been there. We got programs that have played late in the playoffs sitting in here. Okay, I don't know where you're at or what needs to go, but again, when we go back to the philosophy, I'm sure all of you could find one of those things, 4 things that I talked about that got to go. Because that took 20 years for me to get to those 4 things. Okay, and go get after it with your program. All right, this is all my opinion. Okay. I'm a big proactive coaching guy. I follow this stuff all the time. If you don't, I would highly recommend getting on it. This is not a plug for proactive coaching. They're certainly not paying me to say it, okay? But I'm big into proactive coaching. A couple of their thoughts and processes here. This is my opinion, along with a lot of other readings, of why failure happens with our student athletes. It's really simple, okay? They make a bad play, they go BCD, all right? We have to talk about that. We have to have that conversation. It's really simple. They either don't trust their coaches, which is usually drama related, because they probably heard their parents bashing the coach all weekend long, so he has to come back. Okay? So that they don't trust the coach, they don't trust their team. Who knows what happened? Somebody stole somebody's girlfriend over the weekend, etc., etc. Okay? Or they don't trust themselves. And it's just as simple as that. Some players we've had these discussions with, okay, and it can end really fast. There's other players you may have to sit 2 hours for them to finally realize where they're at here. And sometimes it's all, sometimes it's none. We've incorporated that into our school. Now I'll ask them, but the school I was at before this, discipline issues come in. Put that right on the board. What's the issue? Is it your teachers? Is it your classmates? Or is it yourself? It's one of the three. It might be a combination of all. Most of the time it's number 3 though. You call them out, you not trust the coaches. Well, yeah, I do. Okay, good. What about your team? Yep, I like my teammates. Well, then what's the issue? Well, I just don't, and they can't ever finish it. You got to walk them through. Okay? So I feel really passionate about student failure happens with athletics because of one of these 3 reasons. And the faster you can dig in and get it stopped, and then keep applying and building with them, the faster you can get to Dean Smith with them. Okay? Don't let them off the hook. Make them talk about what is the real issue. Kids don't want to look in the mirror these days. A lot of times the problems are there. And to me, it's just as simple as that. Okay? Next. So right here, you have to ask yourself, especially head coaches, all right, if you're driving the bus and you had to get off or you died of a heart attack, God forbid, or something like that, would that bus be able to continue down the road? What does your program currently look like if you leave tomorrow? Does it fall off the train? Is it the blind leading the blind? Have you done your job as a coach to get your program ready for things that happen? Okay? Because if you haven't, you better get to work. Okay? Head coaches that are sitting in here, they don't have their assistants prepared to take over if something were to happen. It's kind of like the will, right? Right in your will. You got to get ready to go. Well, I'm going to be here forever. Things happen. All right? I'm living proof of that. I took my job August 1st, the day before football season. Okay? And 2 of these guys are sitting over here, and they could have done one of 2 things in Prairie du Chien. Cry about it, or get going. They got going. Okay? So I really had a lot of time to think about that these last 5 months of what really was accomplished to get it to the point where if something happens to any of us, and that goes for position coaches as well, okay? And I get it, we all don't have a bunch of coaches, but you got to make sure on your staff, somebody else has somewhat of an idea what's going on in the offensive line, just in case the offensive line coach has the flu that night, okay? So if you don't have that in place, I really recommend finding a plan, and that's a full off season in itself. God forbid if you go ask the D-back coach to come in to meet with you to talk about O-line, just in case. Why don't do that? Really? Why? Well, just because I don't. Okay, then you got to evaluate what are you dealing with here, okay? So, really important to get your program to that point. It's so important to have common language, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Next. So the list goes on and on, folks. I get it. I've been there, I've done it. Still do it. It's called work. All of that stuff is done by all of us in here, and it's awesome. And when you get in the grind and get going, it's like today. Geez, it's January. I don't really know if I want to go to clinic today. And then you get going, and then you're good to go. Okay? But that's just a little bit of what we do. But you got to embrace the work if you want to have success. I'm not talking wins or losses. I'm talking about giving an opportunity for your players. Embrace it. Next. So this is my path a little bit. So 20 years, 19 years, whatever. Went to Owine, Iowa, which is northeast Iowa. Went to UD, got my master's and whatnot. Taught 5th grade and 6th grade, some PE. Did some learning center at my stop in Stoughton. Head coach of those. Assistant coach of multiple sports. And my end goal always was to be an athletic director of a larger school. I wanted to coach till I was 50. This opportunity arose. As we all know, opportunities arise, you got to make a decision. You got to get off the fence. Okay? So that's my path to how I'm sitting here today. Next. Some stops that I had. The first one's Cordova, Tennessee. See, it's outside of Memphis. You know, I'm really young in that picture of wrestling over there. But had some great memories there. Still lifelong friends with some of them dudes. Guy up top there, his name's Fletcher Cleese. If you've ever seen him, he's been on ESPN. Fletcher Cleese, what is it? Stop and Text campaign he does. National speaker now, whatnot. So got an opportunity to coach him before his accident happened. Great dude. So again, great lifelong friendships. Next. After that, my wife was from Illinois. She said she wanted to start having kids, so time to get closer to mom and dad. So moved up there, Morton, Illinois, inspired by Peoria. Again, great opportunity, football track coach, coached stud there, DJ Zahn. Again, we all make those guys, right? Not. Okay, these are 1 in 30-year guys, all right? He was the Big Ten champion and multiple-time All-American, et cetera, et cetera. If we could all just have them all the time, look what we'd be. But when you do have them, you got to celebrate them, okay, and be really thankful. Because when you do get thoroughbreds like that, and they go through them, 4 years go by really fast. All right, next. So after that, it's time for a little change, okay? Just got a little stagnant, all right? And took on the job at Stoughton. Was there for 2 years, had some good success. Was a culture builder, no doubt about it. That program was not known as winning football. We went in there and cleaned the house. Okay, that was a sweeper. All right, and this is not any disrespect. If any of you know the previous coaching staff, it's not disrespectful at all. It's business. Okay, I can come in there and keep doing things, or you got to come in there and make changes and hard conversations. Okay, and we had to do that, and we did do that. But got to coach wrestling with those guys and football. Had a great time there. Still got lifelong friends from there as well. So, and finally then I went to Prairie du Chien, got into some administration there. Next. Football wrestling coach there, worked with Aaron Amundsen over there. He was the building principal, and I was his assistant there, and we worked together really well on and off the field. Great memories in Prairie du Chien, and then I am where I'm at today. So next, please. So, and again, where I'm at now, I'm coaching coaches. I love it. Okay, I'm helping coaches every day. I'm helping student athletes every day. So really everybody in here has a different life and what your end goal is and what you want to do. My advice to you, find a way to do it. I personally believe if I don't go to those 4 places, I'm not where I am today. Okay? Sometimes people get stagnant, and sometimes it's fine for people to stay in the same place 30 years. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying do what's right for you, but have a plan. Okay? Next. So, I'm coaching. We all know there's going to be tough times, and there's going to be great times. All right? Just think about some of the moments you've had here, maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, that are both of those. All right? And those of you in the wrestling world, there's nothing worse than walking your guy across the Kohl Center right after he loses an overtime match for the state finals. That's that picture. Okay? And so, a lot of memories there, and a lot of great times as well, and some of my staff, but just understand you're going to have it all. And this is not like rocket science stuff, but it's a good reminder in January to understand, enjoy the highs and lows and learn from them both. Next. Lifelong relationships and coaching. Okay? Walked in here today, I had no idea who would be here, and I've seen probably 12 guys that I know. I was fortunate enough last year to coach in the All-Star game. Coach Beck was coaching for the big schools. Got to meet him. Never knew who he was until last year. You come into a deal like this and you see a bunch of guys. The McFarland staff was part of that. Coach Wiseman sitting there. We coached together on that All-Star team this year. So, you know, it just gives you so much, okay? And it really is, in my opinion, a brotherhood that you got to use, okay? So many times we're afraid to go ask and talk to people, and I used to be that guy. I don't know why, okay? There's so much knowledge sitting in this room and that room just today. You can get so much for your programs and for yourself to take back to yourself and back to your programs that you're from, just from this group right here. We don't need the big Chicago Glazier with 1,000 coaches that we only know 3 of them, okay? Sometimes these are the best ones, so just remember that. Okay, next. To me, at the end of the day, that's what matters. All right? Where do your athletes end up? And B, 20 years from now, what are they going to say about you? All right? Of everything I talk about today, I really think this one hits home when I was typing this up. I'm like, damn. No wonder why we won in 2010 on the left. Hey, look at what the guys are doing. And so, I'm certainly not here to say we have everything to do with that, or me. But I bet if I had you write out a couple of your better teams that you've had and find out what they're doing today, okay, they're probably not sitting on the street. Okay? They're probably applying themselves with life. And so if you can go at the end of the day when you're done coaching and look back, it really is a moment where you can say, wow, maybe I did have an impact. Maybe I did, maybe the building was worth it at the end of the day. When that guy can come back to me and say thank you, 20 years from now, okay? And if you're not in a place with that, you're not in the Dean Smith moment. If you're not in the Dean Smith moment, you got to get there. This is kind of how it goes together. Next. So, hard conversations must be had. You got to be willing to have it. You cannot shy away from it, okay? And that is assistant coaches all the way to head coaches. We're all going to have them. We're all going to be presented with them because kids are meant to make mistakes. And they're meant to put you in a corner, and you got a decision to either stay in the corner or talk your way out of it. It's kind of reverse thinking. A lot of times, well, we'll put them in the corner and they got to work their way out. No, they're going to make a mistake. Okay? We have to understand what that mistake is and help them through. All right? Understand you're going to be told no all the time. How many times you went to your athletic director and been told no? All the time, right? I live that dream now on the other side of it. Now I understand why they said no all the time. But the bottom line is you're going to be told no a lot if you want to build, if you want to change, if you want to make it right. You're going to tick people off along the way. This change is hard. Okay? However, the positives, as I said, when they come back, there's nothing better. Okay? I'm sure we could all spend hours telling stories about kids that have done great things in the world. Okay? And for the one moment that they take a chance to come over and see you and say thank you, that's what makes it all worth it. 20 years of it, okay? Great memories, great lifelong relationships. And the biggest thing on here is those breakthrough moments. Okay, and I know some of you in here personally, I've competed against some of you in the coaching world, and some of you had some breakthrough moments this year where you like got through that hump. And when that happens, that feeling is so awesome. Okay? And so remember those things, celebrate it. When the big things happen and the small things. When the dude that's never had a 3.0 before and he becomes a senior and he finally gets it, you better have it out on the Hubble. Or something. Okay? You have to celebrate everything if you want to build everything up. Well, I'm busy today, I gotta go do this, and I gotta go run errands and blah, 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 blah. We live in the world of phones, guys. I don't certainly want you to text and drive, but I'm telling you, you can get a message out that's positive about your program every day if you really give it a shot. Okay? And that's key. All the time. Next. So, here's a tool belt. In my opinion, again, this is all Jason Thiry opinionated. If you think it's horrible, that's fine. It doesn't. I'm just here to talk and pass on. If you think you want to apply it and want to talk more afterwards, we can for sure do that as well. But these are things that I feel are the tools we need to build. If we're going to talk about actually building. Next. First thing, get your family involved, okay? Some of us are married in here, some of us are not, but they got to be involved if you're going to coach for a long time. And those of you who have been doing it a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You got to get them in the community, involve them some way. My wife hates going to games. Matter of fact, I don't know how many games she ever go to, Rabbit? Yeah, can't even count them. Okay? I coached for how many years? But she applied herself elsewhere. She made Thursday night meals, okay? And so there's ways to get everybody involved, and your kids don't always have to be the managers. Okay, my daughter would hand out the plates on Thursday nights. You know, there's just ways. You got to look outside the box. Everybody thinks coaches' kids want to be the managers. That's not always the case. Okay, so involve them somehow or some way. Next. This is huge, guys. You have got to let your players lead. They will lead more than you'll ever know. Usually more than we ever give them a chance, because quite frankly, we don't want to put the work in to give them an opportunity to be in that kind of a position. Because it's hard. It's hard to think outside the box and say, how can I get my guys into a position where they can really have an impact? And yet it's so easy. Okay? The look on this guy's face here, that's it. All right? Or over here, that's it. And I get this is one of my sons, but it could be anybody's son in here. And if you get your players to lead and make a relationship, that's kind of like the Dean Smith look for me, if you really look at it, okay? That's the impact your players can have on your community if you build it. If you keep them in a box, it won't happen, okay? And if it doesn't happen, the big moments come in the games, sometimes they don't appreciate things, okay? Just something to think about. Next. Build your youth programs. You got to put the time in. I don't know what that looks like. Okay? And in a smaller school, Prairie du Chien, a lot of our guys were cross athletes. We had to be if we were going to be successful. Coaches came together and said, we got to do it. You've got to get them involved. Okay? You've got to get them doing something, speed and strength, in a weight room, somewhere. But I learned this from Aaron when I went to Prairie du Chien. Okay? I was under the assumption until I got there, I'm the head coach of varsity, everybody else will do things. And then I go there and he's like the 5th grade baseball president, he's the basketball president, and he's doing this for the 4th grade, he's never home. And then I'm like, and then you watch it, it's like, yeah, I gotta get myself more involved here. Not asking other people, but you gotta do it. And you gotta show it. If you do it, people will follow you. But the programs at Yo-Yo, I don't know why that is. We have years where our athletes aren't great. Okay, but I'm sold after now spending a lot of time with those youth programs in Prairie du Chien and watching them have success now at the high school level. And 2 programs, it's all about this. If you want long term, you got to get those relationships made before they get into high school. It's almost too late. So I don't know what your schools look like and what your towns look like, and you guys might have great underclass coaches where you feel like you don't have to. Still do it. Still get your foot in the door. Okay? Stop by a practice, get something on in the off season, go to a basketball game, do something, but get yourself involved in the youth. That's part of building it. Next. You gotta hang your hat on something. So these are some things, there's some easy terminology, some covenants, I guess you could call, that I've had in places I've been in. Okay? I've always been, every football I've been in, this has been not negotiable. This is the program, this is how we're building it. Off school effort, family, and commitment. All right, every place I've been, that's been it. Those 4 cornerstones build the house. Okay? 212 effort, we've all seen that before, maybe you haven't, with the 212 degrees of effort, that was our Prairie wrestling model. Okay? No excuses was in Cordova and Prairie football, we talk about the power of 1. Okay? And that was stole from Dave Richardson at Verona, but again, we steal things from great people. Dave Richardson's a great guy if you don't know. So, those are kind of some of the things that we've talked about, and great things happen to great people. It's just that simple. Things, little, quick messages that we give. But at the end of the day, I know as a coach, I can go home and hang my hat on that. Because if you don't have anything to hang your hat on, I don't know. I got nothing for you. Your hat falls to the floor. Okay? So you got to find something that you're going to go with all the time with your players. All right? Next. We're good. All right. Really important here. You have to be real. All right? We've all seen fake coaching before, and how uncomfortable that can be. And we might have assistants on our staff, or we may have watched other teams that have fake coaches, or we sit in the stands. One of my pastimes, this is my hobby, I tell kids this, I like to sit and watch other teams. I like to watch their warm-ups, I like to watch their interactions, I like to watch how they deal with officials, I like to watch when they win, I like to watch what it looks like when they lose, I like to watch them post-game. Okay, interactions are big for me. Okay, you'd be amazed if you sit and watch all that, how many fake people there are in the world that attempt to call themselves coaches. You got be fake. They see right through us. Okay, we're like a mirror. You cannot be that way if you want to have success. Okay, and that, I don't know if that's an aha moment or not in here, but I'm telling you, 16 and 17-year-old boys can see through a fake coach. Whether you're not prepared, whether you didn't do your homework, whether you didn't do film study, by Wednesday of game week, they know. And you expect them to go play hard when you're fake. Okay? This has got to be talked. I will. This goes back to, we're not trying. We're not saying I can't. I will, as a coach, have your back. Always. Understand they're going to make a mistake. That's part of building it. What's it going to look like when the dude gets caught for vaping? What does that look like in your world? We all want to kill him, right? But is that reality? No, that's not the Dean Smith moment. Sit them down and let them know. I still have your back. I will help you get through this. But I got to have the same in return. All right? I'll be honest with you. There's nothing, again, that's part 2, worse than watching coaches who aren't truthful with their athletes. And then they wonder why at the big moments it doesn't work. Okay? If you have to make a big call on 4th and 1, and you haven't built that trust up and been honest with them along the way, from 9th grade on, or even before, good luck, you're rolling the dice, okay? You gotta be honest with them. And 3, this one's the hardest, I think. It's holding them accountable, okay? Why? Because we don't want to be told no. It's just as simple as that. Nobody likes to be told no in our world. But you're gonna be told no. And so you gotta hold them accountable for everything, okay? And the biggest thing is let them know we're all in this together. So again, those 3 things are really easy. It's posted in my office. It's really easy to have a conversation with a kid and say, hey, look behind me. Then you don't have to say anymore, it's right there. They know. They know it's coming down the pipe. It just makes things a little easier, it breaks that ice, okay? Next. So, mirror check for all of us. Who are you, ask yourself, you know? Well, what do your peers think you are? You know, are you a hardworking coach? Are you real with people? Are you fake sometimes? Are you soft on some issues? Do you let some kids get by with some things and some kids don't? Do you make your athletic director do the dirty work, or do you take care of it for them? Do you do the scheduling, or do you have somebody else do it for you? I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay? At the end of the day, I used to be the guy who I really didn't care who people thought of me, and we still have to have some of that, okay, if we're going to be in this profession, okay? You still got to do things. But, again, it goes back to if you do things right, you're going to be fine. It's part of that culture building of success, okay? It's Fred, was his name Fred, I think, off Scooby-Doo, okay? You find the answers right there. It's right here in your hand. We do a hand check right now. We have leaders in action group, meet with the Onalaska athletes. Hold your hand up every day. What do you see? All the answers are there. Okay? It goes back to trusting yourself, trusting your teammates, trusting your coaches. And where's the issue at? Most of the times it's right here. Next. So that's always a good mirror check to do. Remember, next thing, get yourself surrounded by great people. Okay? And I'm not saying if you have friends, adult friends that are struggling in life, kick them to the curb. I'm not saying that. All right? But I am saying be careful how close you let people into you. All right? Because you got to be surrounded in the coaching world by people that have the same beliefs. Some of you are sitting here right now saying this stuff's all cheesy. Well, I get it. Okay? I used to think that too. Some of it still might be. Just some people. But I've surrounded myself with guys that believe in the same things. And when you have other people, not from your same school, but from other schools or other states that also believe in some of the things you do, it's really fun when you watching the circle start having success. Okay? And so it's like the piece of fruit. All right? You buy a moldy piece of fruit, it's going to turn moldy. You're around a good piece of fruit, it'll stay good. So what's your fruit basket look like? And some of us, that's really hard. Some of us, that might be a little bit of a life change or a culture change for what we do. Some of us, we might be great, squeaky clean, okay? But your tightest people better not be rotten. I don't know why you're not sitting here today, January 20, whatever it is, at the Onalaska Football Clinic if you were, okay? But if anything, you can take back, if you have an assistant coach that's maybe there or teetering there, to have that honest conversation with them, okay? So I'm going to show you a video here. His name's Bob Becker. Really good friend of mine from Morton, Illinois. He just got his 500th win as a coach, and he's 43 or 44 years old. Back in 2005-ish, and that's when I was there. Pause it, please. When I was there, he just got that program rolling, and since like 06, and since 06 on, he's won a gazillion games and 4 state titles and 4 out of the last 6 and 3. I don't know. It's just crazy though. Okay. And when I was there, it was funny. We were normal dudes, just trying to find a way. And he's just taken his program and exploded it. And he'll talk about a lot of the things that meant and why he is where he is. I guess we're going to say. So I'll shut up, be quiet here, and watch Coach.
Bob Becker's first Morton Potters win came in 1989-2000, when a very young Potter head coach had very big goals for his program.
Do we have a vision that all this would happen? I mean, I've never put a number on how many wins or how many state championships. We wanted to be one of the hardest working programs, get better every day, try the best we can to put our kids in a position to succeed.
500 wins, 4 state titles. It's an incredible resume for Coach Bob Becker. Of course, he's also a very proud husband and dad. He's enjoyed spending every one of these 500 wins with his wife, Evelyn. His 3 kids have also been a huge part of it.
I love Evelyn, and it's been awesome to have our family completely involved in what I do. Evelyn's been so supportive and loving, and she's been the backbone. And all three of our kids have somehow, some way been a part of our program, and they've spent so many hours in the bleachers, in the Potter Dome, on the road, and fortunate that Josie and Maddie got a chance to play for me.
Family means a lot to Coach Bob Becker. He says there's no doubt who were his ultimate coaching role models.
My parents. What my parents did for me, they loved me, and they believed in me. And if there's anything that I would hope that we would stand for as coaches, is that we love our kids and love our players, and that we believe in them. And we have high expectations, and we want them to reach those. And it's been my experience that when you set the bar really high, kids will work to achieve it.
All right,
And I'm fortunate for that.
get out of that. So, some things he says in there, very similar, okay? And so, the biggest thing he talks about, and again, he's just like any of us, but he doesn't talk about it, he builds it. And he keeps building it. And you get 500 wins, you obviously are doing something. You're not just showing up year after year after year and winning games with kids, because again, our card deck, we can't keep the same cards. So, really important there, and some good thoughts. So, checking your culture right now. Where is your program sitting at? Okay. Number one, our tough conversations allowed. All right. One of the most powerful things we did in Parade of Sheen was rate our guys, and it's on proactive coaching, and we give them a number, 1 through 5. And 1 through 5 goes from anywhere from not giving a rip about anything, to you're involved in drugs, not living right, to you're okay, to your behavior is extreme, all the way to you're all in. Okay? And so, we had some really hard conversations. We took a team camp to Illinois, actually back in Morton. Okay, so we're 6 hours away from Parade of Sheen. What's a kid gonna do when they get pissed? Call an Uber? You know, they're not going home. So, they couldn't go anywhere, and that wasn't like the plan, was to trap them. But for some of our best players, they had to know where they stood. And our captains led that with them. And we sat as coaches and listened. And my goodness, that was a night. Okay, you know, you have those moments where you don't forget, or moments where you know your program changed. That was a moment. All right, and I think these guys would agree. Down there on that picnic table in East Peoria, Illinois was a moment. Okay, and we took off after that. And so, tough conversations must be allowed. All right, the 501 rule for postgame. That basically is this. If you as a coach, I don't care what your label is, if you can't give 5 positives to 1 reinforcement, then don't talk to your kids until you're ready. Okay? They need to hear the good. They don't need to hear the obvious. We've all been around Captain Obvious. You didn't block well enough. Prove it. Well, I can't right now. I haven't watched the film. And you're telling them this 5 minutes after the game. We've all been there. I've been there too. Okay? But you really got to sit back. And if you got to take a pencil and paper and write it down before you go talk to your team, do it. Even on the football field. You got time to get through the coach's line and get your thoughts together while they're over there getting a kneel. Okay? What are some things they did right? Win or lose. They want to hear it. That's a positive culture. That's part of building. And then you always got to give them something to work on. Okay? Ripping ass for me has never worked. It just hasn't. I've attempted it. I've beat my head against the wall trying to do it. And I just don't think it works anymore. And we all say, well, this day and age of kid. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I know for me, it's just never worked. All right? That doesn't mean you can't be demanding. But again, they don't want to hear the obvious. They want to see why and what they have to do to fix it. All right? And I think that's what separates guys like Bob Becker from the average coach. He'll sit and talk about it, but he's going to find a way to show you how to get better. So post-game is really important, guys. You send your guys away on a Friday night, ticked off till Monday. If you don't see them till then, that's a long time. That's when the fireside chats start happening. Okay? So get it right. Make sure your assistants have it right before they go home. 1 minute rule in practice. Okay? 2 hour practice, 120 minutes. You got 10 coaches on your staff. They should be saying 1 positive every minute. Okay? I can't do the math on that. You're a math guy, right? Not a math guy. You're a math guy. That's a lot of positive comments every day. That's 1,200 positive comments going to your program, to your kids, every single day. Okay? Well, you're nuts. That can't happen. Yes, it can. I used to put managers on my coaches. They would never know it. Walk around, managers have the thing acting like they're. I said, Landon, sit there and tally mark every time you hear Coach Rabbit say something positive. I go tell him. I go right to Josh the next day. 62 positives. That's not enough. or 120 minutes, man. I don't care if you're not coaching. Get up behind a kid and get in their helmet and say, hey, good job. Do something. Butt slap. You know, that was the big thing for a year. Those guys like doing that. I don't care, but it's got to be positive, because, man, that's a lot of positives if you start multiplying it up. Okay? Is respect between everybody. And why everybody? I mean parents, coaches, players. The triangle's got to come together. And it's hard. It's really hard. Okay? But they may not always agree with you, but do they respect you? Okay? And when those tough times come, if they do, they don't last very long. Next, do the three sides beat? Just talked about that. And this is a big one here. We did this in Prairie du Chien that year down at the picnic table. The triangle of leadership has got to be flipped. Freshman, you got the bags. Freshman, you're serving meals. Freshman, you're doing this. Our captains did all that. And they still do today. Okay? They serve the team meal. They put the bags away. They take it out. Freshmen think it's awesome now. Hell yeah, this is great. Man, I thought it was going to be the opposite. We just flip it. It's one of those little edgy things that we take pride in. It's nothing big. It's not big at all. It's nothing new. It's different. And it's worked for our program. The guys know if you're going to take that leadership role on, the triangle's being flipped, and you're doing it all. And that's how it's going to be. Freshmen have enough shit to worry about, guys. Girls, lockers, how those work, the new schedule in school, they don't need to worry about everything else. You let your seniors do that, or your captains, however your program is set up. All right, next. Promote the positive all the time. This is really important. All the time. Use every platform you possibly can. Okay, how much time do we have on top?
12 minutes.
All right, good. Facebook, Twitter's out there, TV, newspaper, anywhere, anytime you can put positive out, year-round, 365, do it. Okay? In the world we live in today, at the competitive nature of this sport in the great state of Wisconsin, where football is great, we got great coaches, if you're not doing it daily, you're behind. Okay? Train your athletes and coaches how to talk to the media. We're going to talk about this in a second. I have a really great story, and Tom's actually involved with this one, so we're going to talk about some Prairie Aquinas battles, all right? What's the common message? All right? What is it? What is it for the year? Is it team first? Is it great effort? What does that look like? Okay? Because at the end of the day, the people giving you the bucks and the people supporting you, they want to know, hear, and see your why. What are you doing in your program and why are you doing it? And you got to have your kids and coaches prepared to talk about that in the public. That takes time. And you can't wait until August 1st to do it. Okay? I used to be the same guy. I'd elect my captains like the day before the first game. It's the dumbest thing ever, in my opinion. Now we do it 2 weeks after the last game. I got to have these next guys. Why do you do it? Well, I'm expecting 4 captains to be leaders of my team that I haven't trained them and I haven't built that throughout the year. So when that tough moment comes, are you kidding me? So I'm making kids fail because I'm not preparing them. It's as simple as that. And don't tell them, well, I don't know who my captains are going to be. Really? Come on. You want to have the not best players be your captains? Start doing your captain votes after 2 weeks after the season. You probably will find 1 of your 4 are not a two-way starter as a junior. It's a kid who's doing things right if you do it year after year after year. Now, has that say I've ever had to change a captain mid-year? Sure I have. Sure I have. But I'd rather do it mid-year than frickin' week 5 of the season. Okay? So just a thought about captains for you there. So next. So this is before the 2017 team. 2017 season. So, one of our best players is Corey Check. Talks about we're not stat watching. We are. We are. The best part about being a complete team, not having an individual standout. That was in the Lacrosse Tribune. Thank God Corey said that. You know? This was the year after the picnic table moment. Alright? And we were really bad the year before. Horrible team culture. We had to get it fixed. Okay, one of our better players, Tyler Smock, all these guys. You have other guys picking you up, boosts the team momentum, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you want your athletes to talk about when the newspaper shows up. What is your team's identity? Okay, and in Prairie du Chien, we're on the radio as well, so our guys got to be prepared to talk on the radio. Before games, after games, et cetera. And they do a great job. I love the media coverage. But man, you got to be careful if you're in a media market. Because otherwise it could look the other way. Like, I'm sorry. So some positive things, again, these are things out on our social media. There's the kids taking a food drive in. These were our captains that were all the students of the month at the same time. Here there was like what happened there, a flood? Huge flood down in Prairie a couple years ago. A place just got absolutely torched and destroyed. All these guys showed up one day to fix it. This is Gillitzer and Smock talking at the radio about their all-star game experience. Here's our middle school dudes doing things. I mean, you name it, we go. Here's Coach Amundsen here with a guy that got out of the Challenge Academy, our Tough Club members, our softball game. I mean, you name it, we put it out there. You have to. Okay, next. This is what you don't want to happen. So, I was seeing the opening really well. I loved it when I carried the ball. I felt like I played good and guys followed me all day. That was Tyler Smock a year later after the game against Tom. 2018. 2017, he had leadership in front of him. Okay? He had Corey Check telling him, 2018, he became the captain, and that was a statement after week 1. Now, how do you deal with it? Okay? So where it gets sticky, if your culture's built, there's nothing sticky about it. He made a mistake. Okay? You don't put him in a corner and say, what are you doing? He was jacked up after a game. We all have players that way. They caught him at the wrong moment, he said the wrong thing. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that he doesn't have some individualistic, traits and features, but is he a bad kid and a bad player now because he screwed up one time in the media? No. You got to go fix it. Okay? And I remember that Monday afterwards, his head went straight down. Because this was on TV. Straight down. I said, Tyler, get up in front of your teammates and let's fix it. He got up in front, apologized. He said, I do not feel that way about you guys. I feel, you guys helped me. They caught me in a bad moment. We move on. If you build it, that stuff like that's not that big. But could that ruin a team? If your best player is saying that, or one of your best? Absolutely. Okay? Or we could go to another level. Push the not this. Oh, we'll go back. Push on the not this. Hyperlink there. I think that's what that's called. Hyperlink there. All right, here we go. Well, I've seen this one, I'm sure.
So thank you so much, Richard. Let me ask you the final play. Take me through it.
I'm the best one in the game. You can try me with a sorry to say like crap to you. That's the result you don't get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
I'm the crap to you. Don't you open your mouth about this. I'm not the center for you real quick. FLB.
All right, football. And Joe, back over to you.
Here we go. All right. I think that game Russell Wilson went off. I think he went crazy, and that was a game to go to the Super Bowl, I think. But we actually used that clip with Tyler's mistake, okay, with our team. Because as you can see, Richard Sherman, the next day, went on social media. Next. And we're not going to read through that, but basically, there's a moment of a small part of the team, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Richard's all over the place. We all get that. But the bottom line is we use it as a teachable moment. Make sense? So make sure you understand the program proper on all media lines. Next. That's the whole point. So, a couple other things here to wrap up. Do it your way. Okay, get a plan in place that works for you. Every place is different. I've been to 4 great places. They've all had different people. They've all had different things. One thing that's been the same thing is kids want to be pushed. Kids want to be pushed if they trust you. Okay? If you get that Dean Smith moment with them, they will do anything for you. Okay? We do farmer carry walks, or did them in Prairie du Chien. It's amazing. The guy all start with the 45s and they think they're tough guys. And then all of a sudden the next day you throw the 75s out and that same guy's doing it. And then the next day you get the 100s out and you're challenging, all right, who's doing the 100s? That doesn't happen just because you walk in day one. That happens over time. Okay? Don't worry about pleasing everybody. Please don't get caught up in that. You will never be successful. Okay? Put it in action. As I said, I really think that's what separates great coaches. You've got to actually do the work. Okay? And then finally, always leave things better when you found them. It's that moment when the bus is driving. Okay? And I'm happy to, think I've left places better than I found them. And leave places in a good spot to have success. All right? And so, just make sure that you are doing things today, because otherwise it's too late. Next. Make common language really important. Why? Focus on the ones that do it right. We spend too much time on the negative stuff, guys. Okay? Have a group of leaders inside the program. Who can they go to? Who are those people? Okay? And then when the game's on the line, man, we gotta be ready to go. What is it, that 2-12 moment, right? Or, remember, we're talking about effort here this week, guys, or as team first, I need you right now. And you're sitting there talking to those 11 guys and get them in the eyes. There's nothing better than those moments. Next. This is our common language now out of Alaska. It's not a secret. These are the 5 things I expect out of the athletes, and it's 5 things I expect our coaches. I don't expect them to change their thoughts, but we have common language from top down. Okay? Compete, contend, championships in that order. You can't do anything until you compete. Everybody wants to drop down here right away, but they forget to do that. Okay? It's a whole nother hour to talk about that, but that's the gist of it. And those 5 things over there is 20 years of coaching for me. They got to be tough. There cannot be drama. They got to be committed to the task. Okay, those of you stole that one from this summer at the All-Star game. Who came? The military guy came and talked about that. Okay, really stuck home. Above the line decision making, that's Urban Meyer stuff, and then don't be a fence rider. Get your guys to make decisions and move on. They're sitting there in a test, in a multiple choice test, and we can apply that, and they can't put B. Just make a decision and move. Okay? Whatever you do, right or wrong, no fear. All right, so that's our common language at Alaska's athletic department. Next. So, plan of action. If you want any of this, I'll share with you. I don't have time to go through it all now. The point is, I guess I want you to see, you want success, you better get going. Okay? Because the list isn't as long down here. And this is the best time of the year. But you want to build, it's here. Right now. Okay? Utilize it. Get yourself surrounded with great people and get working. Some things we do leadership meetings with our guys. We do 1 hour a week where all the football team comes and lifts together. We do open throwing every week where they go in the gym and get some throwing done, et cetera, et cetera. Going back to that captain's piece, as soon as they become elected, it's a weekly meeting. Every week, I find the time they work. It's been different. Some nights it was 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night at my house. But we met every week because it's my job to prepare them to lead. And it takes longer than being told August 1st, oh, by the way, you're a captain. You want to scare kids? Do that. Next. All right, be careful with this word. Mr. Amundsen has a great presentation about leaders, what it looks like. Because there's great ones and there's horrible ones. There's the Hitlers of the world and there's whatever else you want to talk about. But man, that word, you better be careful. Don't go labeling guys a leader unless if you have trained them. Okay? Well, he's a leader. Why? Because he is. Why? Just because he is. Okay? You got to put the time in. So, parting shots here. Appreciate your time today. Next word. Okay, be available always as a coach. Okay, understand it's going to be a process always. Okay, I proved it with Tyler Smock today, I hope. All right, be involved in the community always. All right, be yourself. Trust that what you're doing is always right, always. Evaluate yourself, your coaches, your programs right now, always. Okay, get your fruit basket right. Guys around you, the people in your life. Always. And finally, the most important one, if you do all those things right, you'll sleep well every night. If not, sleepless nights happen. Don't double guess yourself. Okay? So, if you want any of this stuff, get a hold of me today. I can share it with you. If you want to talk shop anytime about football, I still have X's and O's. I'll be happy to do that as well, but I appreciate you coming out today. Thanks.